Wow. Thank you. I'm really very honored to be recognized like this. But first, I'd like to thank Hugo Balta, because he's just been doing an amazing job as NAHJ president. A year ago, many of us were really worried. Some of us feared that it was the end. But today, look at us. NAHJ is still standing and we're moving forward. Thank you. Thank you, Hugo, for the leader you are. But being president is very much about the people who you are leading. And Hugo's success is very much a product of a hard-working board. You guys deserve all the credit for working together and bringing our organization back from the brink. I want to thank you. I want to thank each board member, Rebecca Aguilar, Mecalo Medina, Yvette Davila Richards, Mariela Murtoco, Roberto Pasos, Bonnie Gonzalez, Erin Aylworth, Sergio Quintana, Blanca Torres, Elizabeth Alvarez, Nicole Chavez, Federico Sebervi, Miguel Angel Rosa, Ken Molestina, Rosa Morales, Nadine Arroyo Rodriguez, and Elaine Aradias. Thank you. And for me personally, there's so many other people that I want to thank. People like Yvonne Laddie, Regina Medina, Ernie Sotomayor, Cecilia Alvear. And there's so many other people I could go on for hours and you wouldn't like that. But I want to let you know that even if I haven't said your name, that I want to thank you so very much because, without you, I would not be here today. Thank you so very much. I'll never forget the kindness and the things that you have done to help me and to help others. This is my 20th year of being an NAHJ member. But I have to tell you that I did not get into journalism the traditional way. My story's a little different, and I wanted to tell you about it. I was born and raised by a single mother in the Amsterdam projects in New York City. When I was 17, she moved my siblings and me into the neighboring community called Hell's Kitchen. It was a dump. When I was 19, I got pregnant. Welfare was my next stop. My daughter's father, I remember the last time he beat me up. I was 5 months pregnant. He left me lying on a wet floor of his bathroom and kicked me on his way out for good measure. I had a mother who was unsupportive. I love her, don't get me wrong, but she was upset. She kept pressuring me to marry anybody, because she was constantly nagging me that my daughter was, a good way to say it is illegitimate. I married a guy I knew from uptown, from Washington Heights, and I got off welfare. And we had a son together, but it didn't work out too well. Before long, he was into drugs. He was a junkie. Every time he promised he was giving up drugs, every time I believed him. But I woke up one day and I realized this was the way life was going to be with him. So by the time I was 22, when a lot of you guys have graduated from college and were thinking about starting your careers, I was divorced with 2 kids and on welfare again. My ex-husband moved on and never gave me a dime. I needed a way out of a really bad situation, and although I didn't think I was college material, I registered for the Borough of Manhattan Community College, not realizing that my journalism career was about to start. I majored in secretarial science. Welfare wouldn't allow me to take liberal science because it wasn't considered work-bound. So I gave myself a liberal education instead and took the secretarial courses more slowly while I explored other subjects like philosophy. I took every English course that I could. Finally, there was nothing else to take in the English department except for a course called Journalism 101. I took it. We were mostly taught the 5 W's and how to write a letter to the editor. I got an A on my letter, and my professor suggested that I submit it for publication. I mailed it in, and it got published in the New York Times Magazine. Of course, they edited my letter and they cleaned up my cliches. I took that published letter to my community newspaper in Hell's Kitchen, and I asked to speak with the editor. She asked me, how could she help me? And I told her, I picked up the letter and I said, I want to be a reporter. I was really lucky she didn't laugh at me. She took my phone number, and in a couple of days she called. She asked me to cover my first of many community board meetings. I used to take my kids to report at those community board meetings. We always sat in the back row, and they knew the drill. We had to be quiet because we wanted to hear what the people who walked up to the microphone had to say. And then they would stay in their seats, playing with toys or coloring in the coloring books, waiting for mommy to return from running around, whispering and asking for people's phone numbers. I learned so much about reporting and grassroots activism from my days at my community newspaper. There were so many funky things happening in my neighborhood. It was all about the housing. Some of the stories I wrote focused on landlords and the amazing ways that they were driving out families from our communities. What we were experiencing was the early days of gentrification in New York City. And I loved being able to tell the people in my community what was going on. And I loved giving them a voice as well. And I also loved getting the other side of the story. Some of the things those landlords would say, it would make your head spin. And for those stories, I got paid $10 an article. I used those clips to apply for a writing fellowship at the Village Voice. Afterward, after my fellowship, I became a Village Voice intern. A couple of months before I was going to graduate with my associate's degree, a man was setting up a table in the lobby of my school. I was curious, so I stopped and asked him, what was he doing there? He was recruiting for New York University. The guy says to me, hey, we could give you a scholarship, but they're going to kick you off welfare. And NYU, they offered me a full scholarship to study journalism, and I accepted it, and I got kicked off welfare. I was lucky that someone I knew at the Village Voice was leaving to become managing editor at a startup magazine, the American version of Elle magazine. And she asked me whether I would be interested in a job as a typist. It was the days before the internet, and I was taught to input copy into a system called ATEX. I was working 15 hours a week and making $15 an hour. Kind of good money, but not enough to support a family. So with the pay stub in my hand, I applied for food stamps, Medicaid, and federal subsidy called Section 8 to help me pay for my rising rent. Essentially, I was still on welfare and going to school, but now I had to work outside of the house in addition to going to school. It was a challenge, but I had my eye on that prize. When I graduated from NYU, I believed what my advisors had told me, that I would have to leave New York City to start my career. So I packed up my kids and we moved to many places so that I could make a living as a journalist. The places I have worked include the Bridgeport Post, the New Haven Independent, the New York Daily News, Newsday, New York Newsday, the San Francisco Examiner, the Star Ledger, the New York Times Company, and the Washington Post. I've been a reporter, a copy editor, an assistant news editor, a features copy chief, a section editor, weekend entertainment editor, director of features production, and a multi-platform editor who can edit anything across the platforms. I've taught journalism at the undergraduate and the graduate level. For someone who thought that she wasn't college material, I think I did pretty well. Today, I'm back living in New York City, and I work as the Career Services Director at the CUNY Graduate School of Journalism. I'm helping the next generation come in, y'all. And as my friends at NAHJ know, I always am ready to help everyone in my family here in NAHJ. I love NAHJ. NAHJ was a safe haven where I could go to every year and get hugs and lick my wounds with others like me who were in the same situation as me. And the situation was that we were the only Latinos in the newsroom. But even though we were the only Latinos in the newsroom, we knew that we could come to NAHJ because we were never really alone. In closing, I wanted to let you know what happened to my kids because a lot of milestones happened this past year. My daughter got married. My son got married, I'm sorry, in June 15, and then my daughter's going to catch up, so I'm going to be a grandmother one day. You know, this is going to be good. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, really briefly, because I know you guys, you know, we got to go on, but my term as president at UNI came to an end, and that was really momentous for me because, you know, it was a really trying experience being the UNI president. And, you know, tell you the truth, many times I really did feel like quitting. But it was my loyalty to NAHJ that gave me the strength to complete my term. As you know, NAHJ was in a very bad place financially. I did everything I could to ensure that the Unity 2012 in Las Vegas would make money, and it did. And it was important to me to complete my term because I am not a quitter. That I was able to hand the reins over to the next person, it meant a lot to me. So anyway, that's my story, and I wanted to tell you that Hugo's right. Yes, we can. Thank you very much.